we are finally sorting out the design for our own personal build. It's going to be very challenging for us, giving up a mortgage rate that we're locked into now. That's absolutely amazing. It's just gotten to the point where we need more sanity in our life. We need more privacy in our life. And this is what we want to be doing. Welcome back to another episode of Midweek Modern Craftsman. Hope everyone is having a good week. It is Tuesday, October 15th. It is mine and Rachel's 13th wedding anniversary. That's insane. I can remember my parents having anniversaries when I was around, when I was like my kids' age, and my parents having 13, 15-year wedding anniversaries and seeming as though they were really, really old, getting up on that 40-year mark. I am currently 38, and now being in those shoes, I don't feel like I'm that old. And 13 years sounds like a long time, but it has gone very quickly. That's not to say that it has not been challenging at times, that it's not the hardest thing you ever do at times, but it doesn't seem like it's been 13 years. It's crazy looking back on it to think that I got married when I was 25, Rachel 26. I see 25-year-olds now and I'm like, you guys are babies. And we were most certainly babies, but I think some of that ignorance and innocence definitely was helpful at times. And then I think a few years down the road, coming into your 30s and coming into who you are and changing a little bit did prove to be difficult when you get married. Not that we were 18, 19, but still at 25 years old, making the decision at 23 that we were going to get married. You're young, very young. And I don't feel that I knew who I was truly. And in turn, it's how do you choose to spend your life with someone when you're still trying to figure out yourself? But I've come to realize that your entire life, you're trying to figure out who you are. And you're not the same person this year that you were last year, and your marriage is not the same. So not that I am any expert on marriage. Like I said, I've definitely had my struggles, challenges, and times where I haven't been the best husband. I haven't been the best partner, to say the least. But I feel now 13 years into this that our relationship is better than it ever has been. And my advice to anyone who is younger or possibly struggling with it is that you have to continue to work at it, and you have to change, and you have to be willing to concede to certain things. You can't always have what you want when you want it, and it's not going to be perfect, and it's going to be really hard, but you have to view it as a unit, as a family, as a couple, and not just as yourself. I think that most of the struggles we had in marriage were because I was looking at what I wanted personally with no consideration for what everyone else needed and wanted. And it was a very selfish mindset. When you get married, it's, for a long time, it's not just about you. It's not just about you and your wife once you have kids. There's a lot more to it than that. And I think that if you want to make it work, you have to work at it to make it work. It's very easy to give up on it. It's very easy to think that the grass is going to be greener elsewhere. It's very easy to think that life would be so much better if it were this, if it were that. But realistically speaking, it's all the same shit. It's the same shit, just a different look. It will turn into the same shit. And generally speaking, if you're willing to work at it, it will get better and it will sustain. And that's not to say that it's going to be peaches every single day, because it's not. That's just not life. That's not realistic of life. But to me, it's worth it. It's worth it for what we have now. It's worth it for our girls. It's worth it for myself, for Rachel, obviously. But again, not to say that it has not been challenging at times, probably mostly due to me, to be honest. But just don't go into it thinking that it's going to be the first year of your marriage for 49, 50, 60 years. It's not going to be great every day. It's not going to be easy every day. There's going to be years where you feel as though you just don't matter because there's other priorities, whether it's making money or raising kids or taking care of kids, um, working, building a business, devoting time to fixing your house, whatever it may be. But all those things do pass, and seasons change, and things get better and things get worse. And that's just life. It's up and it's down. And it's the same thing for marriage. If you go into it and you think that it's going to be the idealistic situation every single day. Sorry, I have a notification coming on my phone. Every single day, every waking minute and hour of your life, it's not. So I know what my strong suits are. I know what I do well. I know what I don't do well. And I know that Rachel does a lot of things well that I don't do well. So most of the time I have to look at it and I have to change and alter my perception of what our marriage looks like. And I have to realize that I shouldn't be complaining and that, she's taking care of what she needs to above and beyond what I am. And I can't compare what she does to what I do. We're both working at this together. And we are both contributing to this family and this marriage in ways that works best for us. And there's no way to measure that, and you shouldn't be measuring that. It's just everyone trying to do the best that they can do and contribute and keep your heads above water. It's hard. It's very hard. But at the end of the day, there's nobody that I could choose to do it with, or nobody that I would want to choose to do it with more than Rachel. What she's good at, she's really good at, and what she's not good at, she admit that she's not good at, and we can laugh about it now. And it's trying to find that balance where just understanding everyone's doing their best. So that would be my advice to you in a very long-winded manner, is to understand going into this, it's going to be work. It's just like any relationship. It's like a friendship. Like your children, you have to foster that relationship, take care of that relationship. It's not going to be perfect every single day. It's not going to be easy every day. But for me, it's worth it, big picture. And if it's not, you got to keep working at it. All right, on to the podcast. Enough of that. Could be a self-help hotline. You guys want to call in, talk to me about your relationship advice? No, for years, there's things in our marriage that I struggled with, and I did not do a good job communicating them and dealing with them, and just focused on things aside from my relationship and myself and my wife and my kids as a distraction. And at the end of the day, that is not the right move. At least it was not the right move for me. All right, so here we go. Let's see. It has been a while since I've updated anyone on the status of our own personal build. My head's a little bit fuzzy. I had COVID last week, which I think the girls and Rachel gave it to me, which is why I was sick last week on the podcast and probably sounded like crap, but my head's been so fuzzy from it. It's weird. But I'm going to try and push through this, and hopefully it's as exciting for you as it is for me. We are finally sorting out the design for our own personal build. It's been a long time since I've really updated anyone on this. So basically we purchased 6 acres. There was no approvals on the property. It's zoned for agricultural. But they're like the back four. If you look at the lot, it's basically a rectangle. If you're looking at it, I don't know, northeast, southwest, but to the left would be a 6-acre parcel that's triangular shaped. That's all ponds, so it can never be developed. To the left of that is the town line. So it's the last property on the town line that can be developed. To the right of us is our neighbors, who we're pretty good friends with, kids the same age. They have 6 acres, a very similar lot size and shape. that adjoins the side of our property. Like we share a property line. So that's already developed. There's a pretty heavy tree line between the two with some pine trees and some cedar trees. And the back of the property is basically 4 acres of pretty dense, it's called deciduous wetlands. There'll be some standing water back there in the wintertime. This entire area has a very high water table. And essentially, the lot that we purchased was like the original house we live in now. So the lot's 2 lots down from where we live now. So when you're looking, I should just pull up a survey of this to figure out east and west. I know I have one here somewhere. But when you're looking at the property, like our original house was the farmhouse for the entire area. So they farmed behind our house where that new train wreck of a house is. And then they basically had everything. There's a creek that runs pretty far. Let me pull this up real quick. So it is, let's see. So I have some point of reference. I guess that's north. So I guess it would be kind of west-ish. It's northwest-ish. But basically, like where our house is now, this is 2 lots west of that. And then probably another 2 lots west of that, there's a creek. So before any of these houses were here, they farmed behind us, and then they shed water onto our current property that we bought. And they have all little tributaries and streams that they cut through that would take any runoff from the farming when we used to get a ton of water so that their fields wouldn't flood, and they graded everything, and it would go in these little tributaries and creeks and streams, and then it would dump into Olphins Creek or stream, which is over on that side, and that would pull all of the water away from us. So when we get a ton of rain in the wintertime, there'll be a tiny bit of standing water back there. There is a pond back there. But it's not like wetlands that you're typically thinking of. There's a ton of deciduous trees, and it's a really, really pretty lot. But the back 4 acres can't be developed. So it did not have any sort of approvals on it when we purchased it, which was one of the reasons why we purchased it. From a price perspective, when you're buying something without approvals and you're unsure if it will be able to be developed, it could obviously be a risk when you're spending that type of money. There was a couple other people interested in the lot, but being that we already live in the neighborhood and the guy who owns it, he lives next to the pond lot, so he owned all that space. He was originally going to build a house here. He ended up getting a promotion and buying about 10 more acres and ended up building on that other parcel because it was a little more private at that point. And then he would have this lot, the pond lot, and where he built his house. So he ended up originally clearing this and was going to go through, he got a perk test, was going to go through building there, and then things changed and he ended up building on lots further to the west of him. So he ended up selling it to us because we wanted to stay in the area. We want to raise our girls here. It was a family rather than a developer. There was many reasons why, but he was willing to work with us to ensure it could be able to be developed. So we hired an engineer. We hired a regular civil engineer, a septic engineer. We hired a soil ecologist as a consultant, and we basically did like some high level testing to ensure that we believe that the wetlands delineation, we could get a waiver to that. So where the wetlands is delineated, essentially it's the 4 acres in the back and then the 2 acres up front, but there's a 300-foot buffer on it. So if you don't get a waiver to that buffer, that basically eats up any space in your limit of disturbance that you could build a house. And he's like, the soil ecologist was like, I've done a ton of work in this area. This will be a 50-foot buffer. You just have to get the waiver done. It should take 90 days. They always bump it more than 90 days. It's going to take you a year and a half. So we went into this. We hired everyone that we needed to get through this as quickly as possible. My uncle is a real estate attorney, so he's dealt with this before. He's helped us purchasing and selling other properties. and he's from the area. So like we had the entire team put together to make this as efficient as possible, and it still took a year to get done. And there's really nothing you can do about it. You can see what the DEP has done, what they're waiting on, and basically they said that they had trouble accessing the site in the wintertime, but it's on a main road, and I live 2 lots down from there. And we didn't get really any snow last winter. So it's just a bit of feet dragging that goes on. And at times, there's just nothing that you can do about it. So we sat tight. Not like financing is cheap right now. It has gotten a little bit better, but I wasn't in like a huge rush other than paying interest on a loan. So we decided, let's just ride it out, see what happens. But we finally, a few months ago, got our approvals for the wetlands waiver. So it's down to 50 feet. So we have like basically 2 acres of area that we could put everything that we want. There's also like, being that there's a creek directly adjacent to the property, there's some typical wetlands that we thought was going to affect where the driveway is currently placed, but there's no buffer on that wetland. So we're actually going to be able to keep the driveway where it is now, which is nice, and it'll provide some privacy because there's a huge berm that's built up. The guy built up when he was going to build there 40 years ago at the street, that creates a lot of privacy because we're on a main road. So we'll be able to have the driveway to the west side of the property, and the house probably more centrally located, so you won't look down a driveway to see the house. And then the back behind the 4 acres that we own is about 40 some acres. There's more than that, but there's one parcel that's people own that's like 40 some acres. It's all the same deciduous wetlands, so nothing can be built back there. So it's a very private, very rural type lot that's sandwiched in an area that really nothing else can be developed around it. So there's no other lots like this in the area. And that was one of the hurdles that got us into purchasing this was, hey, if we get to the point where it's like we can't swing this financially, it doesn't make sense in a year and a half that we could turn around, have the approvals on this property and unload it and make some money on it. Even once paying back the loan, the interest, all of that stuff. So it made it a little easier to hop into this situation. So we have our approvals. We partnered with a company called Design with Frank. So you can check them out online. I will end up recording more information on that because I want to walk you through what the process looked like for that, why we chose this company for the house design. So to get into it real quickly, Rachel and I initially were like, this is our forever home. We never want to move. Let's build like a new old home, just everything that we want, and a place that we can live old, grow old, die. This will be it. And that proved to be pretty challenging because from the perspective of, hey, we're going to be here forever, and understanding like you don't want to go through major structural renovations again, what do you include in this build? And then like finding partners and choosing products. And it's like, well, I only want to use this, because it wound up almost creating like no progress. It was a bit of I guess you could say paralysis by analysis, where it's like you have to make a decision, and there's so many decisions to make that it's too hard when you're trying to lay the golden egg. At this point now, Selby is 11. She's in 6th grade. So she has 6 more years of public schooling in our area. So Tilly has 9. And again, like we were just married 13 years. I look, 10 years is all we need to be in Medford. If we don't want to stay in this town, if we don't want to be in this house, if we don't want to live in New Jersey, like we're only bound to Medford really for 10 more years. And in the grand scheme of things, that's absolutely nothing. And we're looking at interest rates, what our house provides for us, what we can get for our house. And we're like, does it make sense for the next 10 years to be happy? Like so much of this is, we would not have moved had the house not gone in behind us. We always assumed that would sell. It would be a small house back there. not a 9,000 square foot house where they brought in 300 truckloads of soil and now they have decorative lighting and a sports court and commercial lighting on the sports court in the backyard and like a runway of lights up and down the driveway. We lost all our property. Any sort of like neighborhood ish, it's just been miserable. So that's the main reason why we're looking to move. So we were like, do we need to be here for that long? We're like, 10 years isn't that long. So our goal is with this house is to find a house that suits our needs. It doesn't break the bank for us. It's not something that we are going to place these financial handcuffs on ourselves to be able to work, just to live in a house. Where our kids are of the age now where they require a lot of time from us. They require a lot of money from us. There's things that we want to do with them where it's like, I don't want to just have to work to pay for a house. So we're trying to build a house that many people can afford. That's not overly embellished and just absolutely out of the market for so many people. That's not our goal. Our goal is to create a house that serves us, suits our needs. It's not more than we need, and it provides the privacy and the home and the lifestyle that we need to be able to enjoy our life, have the house that we need, have the comfort, the privacy, the peace within our environment that we need physically and emotionally, and not break the bank doing it. And like, yeah, every house you build is going to be expensive at this point, but like, what can most people afford? And obviously I have access to the industry, to partnerships and everything else, but like, I want to build a house that's affordable. I think that's a dream for a lot of people. And most people cannot afford to build, a $2 million house, even $1 million house. That's not my market. That's not who I really want to serve. And I want to show that you can create a really quality product, do a little bit of the legwork and create something that's affordable, quality, and nice at the same time. And it could be well thought out and designed well. And you don't have to spend $2-3 million doing it. So that's the goal for us. It is to create a home that serves us financially, emotionally, with the privacy and not feeling as though we're living in a fishbowl with people around us that we just don't see eye to eye with, to create a space for our family, to create a space that can serve us for the next 10 years. Maybe it's 30 years, who knows? But we just don't want to get ahead of ourselves with interest rates and money and lending and what our mortgage rate is now. It's like, does it make sense to give all of that up and spend a ton more money because we want more privacy or we want to be in a space that makes us feel more comfortable or safe, or we can sit outside and just feel relaxed. And it's like weighing that and your emotional needs versus what your financial situation is, what your capacity is, and what your house is going to look like. So the goal for us is to create something that's relatively modest but suits our needs and really quality. It's not going to be super fancy, ornate, high end. I want to create something that it's attainable for other people, for people who want to work for a living and create a product or build a product for themselves that's really beautiful, well thought out, but not necessarily sourcing exotic stone from a cliff in Eastern Europe that you can have carved into a bathtub. That just doesn't make sense for me. So the goal is to have probably 2,000, 2,500 square foot house max, a shop for toys and work. And Rachel's big thing is she wants some gardening space. We want some outdoor space. Like, we haven't had privacy for the past 3 years. So we really are looking to have some outdoor space where we can just enjoy nature and trees and the seasons. And we obviously as a family enjoy being outdoors. Rachel wants some garden space. We want some space for the dogs, and also a place to keep the dogs so that they're not running into the pond every single day and showing back up with like mucky pond water. So Design with Frank really fit the bill for us with that. We're able to take one of their models and tweak that and make some slight changes to get us what we need. And it's a quick process. It's an efficient process. It's an affordable process. And it really like it makes sense for us. It checks all the boxes. From a design perspective, it's not really what I do, but it's something that Rachel has liked for a really long time, and she's pumped about, and she's pumped to get into and really spend some time on the design end of things. So like that's one of those things that I'm willing to concede to her because she loves it. And it's not that I don't love it. Like I love it. It's just not what I initially anticipated we'd be doing for this build. But now that we're into it, it's like, yeah, I love this. This is going to be amazing. This is going to be great. This checks all the boxes for us. So for the next 4 or 5 months, obviously I need to figure out financing. So if anybody, I've hopped on the phone with a couple of people as far as being self-employed, owning a house, financing a build while you're doing it. Obviously, there's the traditional means and methods, but if there's any ideas that people have from a tax perspective, a lending perspective that just worked out for you, reach out to me, Tyler at trghomeconcepts.com. I'd be willing to have a conversation with you. I'd be willing to have you on the podcast to talk about it, just to really get some ideas in my head as far as what that's going to be. So I need to form some partnerships. I have to figure out what we're willing to spend, get some numbers on the design, and figure out what we're going to need to secure as far as financing goes to get this built, and then sell our house, pay down whatever we can on the loan, and then just have a traditional mortgage at that point. So the goal for me, and this is a lofty goal, and I'm not positive this could happen, but in a perfect world, I would be able to offset the build costs enough through partnerships and generating content to be able to plant myself at this house, and that be my full-time job. Do my little stuff for customers here and there as need be, but really free myself up to spend time building this house. That would be a perfect world, and I feel that's probably pretty audacious to say, but if I say it out loud, there's a certain amount of accountability there, that I at least put it out there in the world, and if it doesn't work, I have to face that. But in a perfect world, if it does, it's going to force me to work a little bit harder to try and make that happen. That being said, if there's any partners that are interested in this, obviously reach out to me, Tyler at trghomeconcepts.com. But from a listener perspective, like what type of content is going to be most beneficial to you? Because I want to create content as far as like why we're choosing the products that we're using, from a budget standpoint, a design standpoint, a maintenance and a durability standpoint. Like, is that interesting to you? Is it more the hands-on technique that's interesting to you? Is it a budgeting conversation that's interesting to you? Financing, site work, approvals on a lot like this, the wetlands information. What is important to you that you'd like to see documented and for me to dig into through the podcast, and through my social and everything else? So what would be important or valuable to you to see me document throughout this process? So definitely reach out to me with questions, or suggestions as far as what you'd like me to touch on or possibly document, because I'm going to create a spreadsheet where I can just really keep close tabs on that and do as much as I can to create the information and get the information to you guys that's valuable to you. So reach out to me, Tyler at trghomeconcepts.com. Obviously, like I appreciate the support from everyone over the years. The fact that we're in a position now to be doing this it's going to be very challenging for us for many reasons, giving up a mortgage rate that we're locked into now. That's, to be honest, absolutely amazing. But it's just gotten to the point, and it's been at the point where like we need more sanity in our life. We need more privacy in our life. We just want to feel as though we're in a safer space. And this is something that has been a goal for us and something that we've wanted to do. And when the opportunity presents itself, and like everything else in our life with where we live now and what we lost behind us and what that relationship looks like, it's like this is what we want to be doing. And we're gonna do everything that we have to make it happen while still preserving where we are financially and ensuring that we're making good decisions for our family, for our future, and everything else. So there's a lot to it. I just don't want to say, hey, let's do it, let's spend the money, whatever, we'll figure it out. Is a big decision. It's going to require a lot of time, a huge investment on all of our behalves, and honestly, a lot of sacrifices on everyone's behalf. So I want to make sure that we're going about this the right way. But I appreciate all of the support from everyone through the podcast over the years. Still to this day, all the emails, all the support, the consulting calls, which have been amazing. I'll be on another one again tomorrow, so I'm still doing one or two of them a week. I do have some traveling coming up where it's a little bit busy. So if you are interested, I don't have a ton of time the rest of this month. Maybe if it's an odd time and something that's pressing for you, I might be able to squeeze you in. If not, it might bump over into November. So if it's something that you need answered quickly, you want to talk about quickly, do that sooner than later. Tyler at trghomeconcepts.com. I can walk you through what the process looks like to get one of those calls booked. But I appreciate everyone. I appreciate all the support, the consulting calls, all of the information that provides for me, how it can serve you better, where our industry needs help, what most people struggle with, how to shape my conversation on the midweeks. It's great. It's where so much of my business and so much of the direction that really inspires me is going. So you all contribute to that. Everyone who listens to this, everyone who shares this, everyone who hops on a phone call with me, it's all contributing to developing not only the business, but the lifestyle that serves me best at this point in my life, and really creates a good like sense of well-being for myself. And also like a challenging perspective for me where it's I'm trying to figure out something new. It's not just banging a hammer. It's not putting up crown molding. It's not installing cabinets that I understand how to do. This is something that is challenging to me. It's difficult, and I'm working my way through it. And it intrigues me and inspires me to continue to get better. So I appreciate every one of you for giving me that opportunity. And that's going to wrap this one up. Again, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, if you have topics that you'd like me to dig into, if you would like to hop on a consulting call, if you have questions directly for me, Tyler at trghomeconcepts.com. I'd love to hear from you. Do not hesitate to reach out. Do not be shy. I promise I don't bite. Let's see. And the one last thing is I need all of you who are local to this area within a couple hours to sign up for the Kukin Brothers Product Expo, which is November 7th, 2024, Whippany, New Jersey. Go to kukinbrothers.com. It's going to be all over their page. You can sign up for free. It's going to be free lunch, free drinks, architects, subcontractors, builders, contractors, carpenter, however you're involved with the building industry. You do not want to miss this show. Truly one of the best, great company. I love working with them. I love working with Ryan for years. There'll be a bunch of people there with live presentations. I will be there presenting live on window installations, potential failures with window installations, how to integrate them into different exterior envelopes, depending on what part of the process you are in. So you do not want to miss out on that event. Again, head to kukinbrothers.com. It's the Live Product Expo, November 7th, 2024. Anyone is invited. Just register beforehand. All right, guys. I'll catch you next week. Thank you.